Hi YouTube. This will be a brief summary of the book of Daniel. My expectations going into this book were a little higher than they needed to be, and what I essentially found were the same problems that modern scholars have already found with Daniel. The problem with Daniel is essentially what he does not know versus what he does know. And the entire book of Daniel seems to exhibit a lack of knowledge of the Babylonian kings and the Persian kings. In chapter 11, it appears to be quite clear that the author knows a lot about the Seleucid Empire, and what the author knows indicates a date somewhere around 164 BCE at the earliest. There are two things that I haven't previously mentioned in regards to Daniel. One, that part of it was written in Aramaic. Chapter 2 through 7 were originally in Aramaic. It's possible that more of the book was originally in Aramaic, but at this point it appears that the rest of the book was written in Hebrew. In breaking those down by language, I'm still left with the author's lack of knowledge of the Babylonians and Persians. So even if there were two authors, I see nothing that indicates an author too much before 164 BCE. If there were two authors, neither one of them appears to have known enough about the Persians and Babylonians to indicate earlier authorship. The second thing I'd like to mention, Wildwood Clare mentioned the idea that Daniel was a forgery, and I looked up that possibility, and there's an excellent website that gives an explanation for the forgery idea. I'll post that below. My only issue with calling Daniel a forgery is that there are likely very few books that are ascribed to the actual author. Most of these books are stories of people that existed either in reality or in mythological history far before the actual authors. So technically I think most of the Bible could be considered forged. On the other hand, I don't think that ancient writers would have thought in those terms. I see these authors as using a literary tool, if you will, that has a habit of making stories for people who were assumed to exist. Many of these figures in the Bible are like national symbols. They're more legend than reality, kind of like King Arthur is to England. With some of the Maccabees books, it seems plausible that one of the Maccabees wrote that, but beyond that, I really question authorship on most of the Bible. For the time, it's probably a literary tool rather than a forgery, though forgery is also an acceptable claim for most of the Bible. So, Daniel is messy. The author's lack of knowledge makes most of these chapters ambiguous. Chapter 11 turns out to be the best chapter in the book, and by the time I'd gotten to chapter 11, I was beginning to think that no one should bother reading this book, but chapter 11 made it worthwhile. That's it for Daniel. There's a lot of scholarship that is very close to where I ended up, so I don't think I found anything new, but it's good to have the reinforcement of modern scholarship. That's all I got for you today. Thanks a lot, folks. Bye.